So today I am going to be continuing my teaching on Green Tara, going through the text that we chant. And so at this point, we begin with the consecration of the offerings. And this part begins with the mantra Om Benza Amrita. And at this point, think that the entire world and everything in it becomes completely pure, a pure land, or just completely pure, excuse me, scratch the land, just becomes completely pure. Then with Om Sabhawa, Shuddha, Sarvabhara, Mama, that mantra, everything dissolves into emptiness. So what this means is not that everything disappears, but there are no truly existent outer objects and no truly existent mind that conceives of outer objects. So what we are doing here is, you might say, thinking about interdependence and relative reality being an illusion. And while things appear, it is an illusion of the way they appear. And this is a very important point because when I first came in contact with Buddhism, I would run into books and they would talk about emptiness as being void. And well, that might be true because they're void of truly existing. It also can be misinterpreted as meaning just plain void, nothing. So this is not a state of nothing. It is a state of no truly existent outer objects or inner objects. So rest in the state that is free of clinging. And then from within this state of emptiness, Tara's realm appears. And it is called lotus shape or lotus design. And it is extremely beautiful and full of ornamentation, just like a Tibetan shrine room, you might say. Not that it is identical to, but a Tibetan shrine room is full of ornamentation. You can tell that by my backdrop here. And on the other hand, it's good enough for our ordinary minds to think that it's not an ordinary human world, but not Tara's pure land. So again, don't worry about not having to have a visualization that is extremely clear and perfect. So then the next mantra comes up is Om Bendra Saparana Kam, and this transforms the offerings on the shrine to limitless sublime offerings. And many of these offerings are not even found in the human realm. And then on top of that, imagine them or visualize them to be immeasurable offerings, filling space if you can. So now we invite and visualize all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Gurus, Yidams, Dakinis, Dakas, Dharmapalas. Dharmapalas are protectors, by the way. Dakas are the male equivalent of Dakinis, enlightened male energy. Dakinis are enlightened female energy. Yidams are beings that we use in our practices, our deity practices, and literally translated, it means that which binds the mind. Yi is mind, and Dam is short for Damsik. And so if we have limitless offerings, now we have limitless beings that we are offering to. Then with Pema Kamalaya Tam, we invite them to be seated in front of us. And excuse me. So we offer them a seat, request them to be seated, and then we do a second 7-branch prayer. And this one is part of the King of Aspiration prayers, which is a much longer prayer. This prayer is done at the end of the first session of a Nyungne, for those of you that have done Nyungne. And it's the prayer itself, the entire prayer is quite beautiful. This part is an extensive 7-branch prayer in which we first of all pay homage to enlightened beings, the ones that we have visualized as recipients of these offerings. And then the second branch is making actual offerings. And so I'm going to go to my Green Tara text here. Let's see if I can find this here. Yes, my text, which is a KTD text, this is on page 3, and it begins Jini Sudak Chokchu Jiktenna. With body, speech, and mind, I pay homage to all those lions of humanity, as many as there are without exception, who arise in the worlds of the 10 directions and the 3 times. Through the power of this aspiration to excellent conduct, may I see in my mind all the victors, bow to them with as many bodies as there are particles in all the realms. On each particle, I imagine as many Buddhas as there are particles surrounded by bodhisattvas, and so forth. So this has The first 7-branch prayer that we did was much shorter. This is, you might say, a more elaborate one. And so then when it comes to the offerings, it says, I offer those victors sacred flowers, holy garlands, symbols, ointments, the best of parasols, the finest lamps, and sacred incense. I offer these victors sacred fabrics, the finest scents, heaps of medicinal powders, equal in size to Mount Meru, and particularly excellent realms, and so forth. So it goes into, in great detail, the nature of these offerings. Then the next one is confession of past non-virtuous actions. And the rest of the 7-branch prayer is much shorter and close to the 7-branch prayer that I talked about earlier. And so the next branch is confession. And then is the rejoicing in the merit of others. And then asking the Buddhas to remain in samsara, helping us. For instance, here it says, I exhort all the lamps of the 10 directions who have attained passionless Buddhahood through the stages of awakening, all those protectors to turn the unsurpassable wheel of Dharma. With palms fully joined, I request those wishing to demonstrate passing into nirvana to abide for as many kalpas as there are particles in all realms, for the benefit and happiness of all. And then the dedication of virtue, of merit. I dedicate all virtue, however slight, I have accumulated through the homage, offerings, confession, rejoicing, exhortation, and requesting to awakening. And so that is that second 7-branch prayer. After that, we offer a mandala to this field of merit. And to, you might say, emphasize this, it's a field of accumulation of merit. And so by making these offerings and the other 6 branches of the prayer, we have accumulated a lot of merit and then dedicated it. So this mandala we offer to the 3 jewels and the 3 roots. The 3 roots are the gurus, the yidams, and the protectors. And while doing this, and I don't have my mala here with me, but we have the Mandala Mudra, and you always want to have something in it, and I don't have a mala to put in it. But this is the mudra, and that you are offering your body, your possessions, and all sentient beings to this field of merit. Together with the 4 continents, Mount Meru, the sun, the moon, and so forth. So we're offering all the inconceivable riches and splendor of the God realm, or the God realms. And then, of course, the human realm. And on top of that, even though we are not bodhisattvas, we are making the aspiration that may this offering be like those of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, who was able to make inexhaustible limitless offerings. So in a way, it is saying, well, even though I cannot make offerings that are inexhaustible and extremely splendid and so forth, this is how I am imagining my offerings are. So, for instance, one example of offering your own body would be to emanate countless, you might say, copies of your body, filling the sky with duplicates of your body, making offerings, and so forth. So this is what is being done here with a mandala offering. Next comes a prayer to the three jewels. And it is to the, besides the three jewels, it is the three roots. And as I said, they are the Lama. The Lama is the root of blessings. The Yidam, and the Yidam is the root of accomplishment. The Sanskrit word is Siddhi, Siddhi. And then the last root is the Dakinis, Dakas, Dharmapalas, the root of activity. And also included in this group are deities like the wealth lords that guard wealth, the lords of Terma. They guard terma that have yet to be discovered. And all of these beings come from the Dharmakaya, but they manifest differently. So that's an important point. And they manifest as Sambhogakaya deities because the Dharmakaya is formless. These deities manifest as Sambhogakaya deities for our benefit. If they remain in the Dharmakaya, it is only they that benefit. Their qualities are all wisdom and compassion. This is an important point to make, wisdom and compassion. They are not separate from that. These are the qualities of all the three jewels and the three roots. And so we're, again, make offerings of body and our possessions and request protection for ourself and for all sentient beings. Let me go back here to the text. I should probably just keep it in my lap, and then I don't have to keep going back and forth. So next comes offerings and praise to Green Tara and her retinue. And this is on page 7 and page 8. And first is the visualization as green Tara. And visualize yourself as best as you can. And if you're not doing this regularly, then it might be difficult to do this. And again, don't get too concerned about this, but do the best that you can. And it's good to have a picture of green Tara by you when you are doing this practice, so you can study this picture and improve gradually over time your visualization. And this begins with chanting Rang Ni Kechik Dren Azok Su, which means complete in an instant of recollection, I appear as the noble Jetsunma Tara. So she arises on a white lotus, a moon disk, with a tam seed syllable, which represents your mind. Light radiates up to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, making offerings to them. This pleases them, and the light returns to the tam. Then it goes down to goes out to samsara, to all sentient beings, removes obstacles, and then returns to the tam, and instantly you arise as green Tara. Tam is her seed syllable. And here in the text, you're not going to find Tam in the text at this point. And of course, you're using the Tibetan seed syllable of Tam, not the English letters. So this is how she appears. Her right foot is extended, her arms, let me put this text down again. She's holding a lotus in her left hand, and her right foot is extended in the Bodhisattva position, and she has the clothes of a peaceful Sambhogakaya deity, and this is the green Tara on the front of the book by Boka Rinpoche called Tara, the Feminine Divine. I did not mention her right arm and hand, but it is on her knee and it holds another lotus. And so she has her hair, part of her hair up on top of her head, and she has a protrusion on the top of her head, which is a sign of an enlightened being. Elongated ears with earrings, 3 necklaces, armlets, bracelets, anklets, and so forth. The type of ornaments are very similar to Chenrezig, but of course, Tara is feminine, and they are going to be what is appropriate for a female, peaceful Sambhogakaya Bodhisattva. And so her cloth ornaments and robes are made out of silk and are completely beautiful. She's made out of light, She is hollow. The light from her ornaments, clothing, and her form are merely, you might say, superficial, just what's covering the outside. And inside of her then is hollow, and she has the seed syllable in her heart. She has in her forehead a white Om, in her throat center a red Ah, and in her heart center a blue Hung. And there's a total of 21 taras. White Tara is another of the taras. In this particular practice, she is the center of the mandala. So surrounding her are the other 20 taras. And in the four directions are the four taras that represent the four karmas. So in the east, and the east is in front of you. In Vajrayana, when you are visualizing yourself as the deity, east is always in front of you. So the Tara in the east, representing peaceful activity, is white. And she has her hand in the bestowing protection mudra, which is like this. She's smiling and she is peaceful. In the south, which is to your right here, is the Tara that is yellow in color. And this represents enriching activity, increasing activity. In her right hand, the mudra of her right hand is the mudra of generosity, which will be on her knee, and it will be like this facing out. And in her left hand is a lotus and a hook. She is extremely beautiful. All the taras are beautiful. This particular tara is, quote, almost seductive. She's intense, but not wrathful. And this almost seductive is symbolized by having the lotus and the hook. Beautiful, and you might say, get your attention. The next is in the west. This is a red Tara, and she is overpowering, represents overpowering or sometimes magnetizing. She has a lotus and an iron hook. In her left hand, she has a noose. In her right hand, she has a lotus and an iron hook. And again, she is extremely attractive. And here the word is attractive, not beautiful. And again, quote, to the point of inspiring desire. Then on the left, in the north of this mandala, is a wrathful Tara. And a translation of the Tibetan word for that is frequently translated as wrathful, I have heard recently it being translated as forceful. Another word is destroying. So this Tara, these are the four karmas, by the way, which is peaceful, increasing, overpowering, and then a forceful or destroying. So this Tara is black. She has two hands. She holds a purba at her heart. And a purba is a, you could call it a divine dagger. It is a dagger, a ritual implement that is symbolic of this type of karma. So between these four taras in the four directions are the other of the taras, which would mean, since there are 21 taras, there's a total of 16 taras in between these taras in the four directions and the central green tara. The rest of them are all peaceful, smiling, and appear to be pleased. You have made all these offerings. So their left hand holds a blue lotus, the right hand is in the Mudra of Generosity. All have an Om, a white Om, a red Ah, and a blue Hung in these three places, and all have a Tam in the heart center. The Hung is above the Tam. And the Tam represents the, quote, ultimate, unborn, and empty nature of samsara and nirvana. And this comes from the book by Bokar Rinpoche, titled Tara, the Feminine Divine. So next comes the invitation. And so light radiates from the Om Ah Hung. The light is the same color as the syllables that they emanate from. And these represent the syllables represent the body, speech, and mind and essence of the deities. It goes to Tara's pure land, touches her heart, and invokes the wisdom deities. And it invites all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yidams, Gurus, Dakas, Dakinis, Dharmapalas to come. They come in the form of green Tara and the other 20 Taras. And they reside in the sky in front of you. So they are above you. And again, don't think that your room is too small for all of this. You have already transformed the space that you are in into a pure, you might say, a pure land that is emptiness and appearance. So there is room in there for all of this. I once went to a cave that Guru Rinpoche had meditated in. This was over in Nepal. And the cave was so small that if I were to sit in it, there would be no space between my head and the top of the cave. Maybe there'd be enough space there so that I wouldn't hurt my head if I leaned from one side to the other. But there was really no space above my head. And I have no doubt that Guru Rinpoche had no problem visualizing a deity above his head or deities in front of him in the sky above his head, because this is our, you might say, the creative use of our imagination to visualize these things. As his realization increased, of course, it would no longer be his imagination, that this is the way it was, that the cave was just plain an illusion. So anyway, don't worry and just do the best you can with these visualizations. So now we request them all to be seated on lotus seats. And there is music. And during this time is a great time to work with this visualization. Then after that, we make offerings. And it's the same 7 offerings that are on the shrine. Drinking water, washing water, flowers, incense, lights, fragrance, food, and then music.